All right, so a lot of you guys were telling me to check out the Black Line interfaces, and I went ahead and picked up the Revolution interface, but I wanted to test it out against an interface that I use all the time, which is my Apollo X6 interface, and I can say that the results are quite interesting.
Bolo!
All right, before we get started, if you guys are looking to get a Blackline audio interface or anything for your studio, make sure you guys go ahead and click my link in the description and head over to Zounds.com. Zounds has a whole bunch of stuff on the site, and they have a whole bunch of stuff on the site that does not require a credit or background check. Now, it's not everything on the site, but it is a whole bunch of stuff on the site that you guys can get right now with no credit or background check, meaning you can order it, they will ship it to you, you can use it, and then you can just make monthly installment payments on the items. All you just need is a credit or debit card hooked to the account. So if you guys are looking to get anything for your studio, make sure you guys go ahead and click my link in the description and head over to Zounds.com and get you something today. All right, so what's going on today? So I'm going to test this Blackline Audio Revolution interface and compare it to my Apollo X6 interface. Now, I'm not going to go through all the specs and all that stuff like that because there's already enough videos out here that have specs on this particular unit. And plus, I like to just hear how the thing sounds. Like, I grew up, in the 90s, I had a car and I had a car audio system. And as a lot of you guys who are my age, that all the amplifiers and the speakers back then were not created equally. And there was a lot of companies saying, oh my God, this amplifier is 5,000 watts and 2,000 watts RMS. And then you would, take it to a real car audio place and they would test it and the thing would be like 800 watts and like 400 watts RMS. And then the signal to noise ratio was all off and you just had a really bad, cheap amp. So that's, back then, So back in the day, we had to go ahead and get the real stuff. So we had to get like the real amps. Like during that time, the Orion amps were like really good amps. There was a few other, really good quality amps back in the day. If you guys remember those, go ahead and let me know in the comment section. But as we all know, we had to actually hear the sound rather than just going off of the specs. So that's why I'm not going to really go off of the specs. Now, one thing that I do like about this particular unit, the Blackline Revolution unit, is that they have the 4 hardware inserts in the back of this unit. So that means that you can go ahead and connect your hardware devices to it and then just decide if you want to engage or disengage the units if need be. So that's actually a very good thing. That's better than just plugging everything up and then having to go ahead and unplug stuff in the back of your desk or whatever. You can just engage these hardware units if you need it. And, while using it or while recording or whatever you need to do. So that's actually a very good thing with this unit. Another thing too that I like is it has the mic inputs, the line and the XLR inputs in the front, and they have it in the back. And the cool thing about it is if you do use them from the back of the unit, they override the inputs in the front. So that's actually a very good thing. So I thought that was pretty cool. Most of these audio interfaces right now, they all sound really good. Like they all sound really good. They all have their own type of characteristics. And, this one right here, compared to the Apollo, once I did my thing with it, it was kind of interesting. So let me tell you guys what I did. So first things first, I'm not a singer. I'm not a rapper. So I'm not going to do an audio test, but I wanted to get something that was pretty consistent. So what I did was I made a very quick beat using my MPC and my Roland Phantom, and I ran the beat into each one of the units. However, I just didn't run just one long wave file. I actually ran in the stems on each one of the units, which it did take some time. I had to match everything, and I did get a pretty decent level match out of all the stuff. And then what I did was I bounced everything down from there. So what I did was from that point, I went ahead and cut up each one of the bounces so that the Blackline audio can play for like 4 bars or whatever. Then the UAD will play like 4 bars. And that way you guys can compare the two as the whole beat is playing. So what I'm going to do right now is we're going to go to Studio One. I'm going to show you guys the audio and everything. And I'm going to talk about some things that I did notice when I was routing things in and what I was actually hearing out of both of the units as well. So let's go ahead and head over to Studio One so we can hear how each one of these interfaces sound. And that way you can determine if this interface is something that you may consider picking up. So let's go ahead and head over to Studio One right now. All right, so we're in Studio One right now. And as you guys can see up here at the top, these are the track outs that I did going inside the Blackline audio interface, the Revolution interface. And on the bottom right here is the track outs that I did inside of the Apollo X6 interface. And then right here, the ones that are not muted are the ones that I did the mix downs for. So it took me a little minute to do all this because there was a few obstacles, but it wasn't too bad. The first obstacle was the Blackline interface. The input actually came in hotter than the input on the Apollo. I pretty much just set the MPC and the output of all that at the same. So when I ran everything in, I didn't touch the output of the MPC. I just ran it directly in. And I wanted to see how the inputs and the outputs fared depending on each of the units. And I can say that the input, when you're running stuff into the Blackline Revolution interface, the signal was hotter, which meaning was it was louder. So maybe that's good for like a signal to noise ratio type of a thing. But does it sound better? I'll let you guys decide. Now, one thing I did notice is the output of the Blackline Revolution was a little bit lower and to me sounded a little bit thinner than the universal audio output. So we're running into a to D, D to A type of a situation. Now, does that mean that the universal audio interface sounds better on the output? I don't know, but to me, I liked how it sounded, okay? Some people may say, oh, it has a hi-fi sound or whatever. There wasn't much of a difference because I actually did the mix from the output of the Blackline Revolution interface, and then I pretty much mirrored the mix on the tracks that I imported in from the universal audio interface. But everything pretty much sounds very good, to be honest with you. It sounds very good. But other than that, of course, the input of the Blackline interface was much hotter, but the output of the UAD was, to me, more pleasing. Like I felt like I could get a better mix from the output from the UAD than the Blackline, but it's not that much of a difference. It's a few dB of the output that was different, but it's not that much of a difference. And that's from the input and output, to tell you the truth. So I went ahead and got everything done. I level matched this as good as I could. I like to level match stuff using LUFS, and I got it very close. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and play the beat, and the top portion right here is a Blackline audio. The bottom portion right here is a UAD. And as you guys can see, I got them separated so you guys can hear the difference. And in that way, you guys can make the difference on which one sounds best to you, okay? Now, the beat is okay. It's not the best beat in the world, but, it's decent, okay? It's a decent beat, and I just want to have something consistent that I can, test out both of the audio interfaces. So let's go ahead and check it out. All right, so there it is. Like, you know, just me being honest, the Blackline audio interface does not sound bad. Doesn't sound bad at all. It has its own characteristic and it sounds good. It sounds really good. So, man, I don't know. You guys let me know, but for the price for this, it's not bad. Not bad at all. All right, so there it is, the Blackline Audio Revolution interface. This thing is actually pretty good for the price. It's actually pretty cool. Now, it has a different sound, different characteristic from the Apollo, but for the price, it's not that bad. And if you guys are looking for a solid interface and you're trying to step up from what you have, Blackline Audio did a really good job with this. So if you guys are trying to get this interface, of course, I have a link in the video description. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys learned something from it. And like I always say, peace out.